This is a promise filter, a clear piece of glass with a layer of specks on it. When you place this in front of your lens, the specks diffuse the light, but the image stays clear with a minimal blurring. It blooms the highlight, creating a soft look for the whole frame. These and other optical filters are a big part of look creation. Promise filters are quite expensive. Even brand knockoffs are still not cheap. But I have found a free alternative for DaVinci Resolve users, which is pretty damn close to a real promise filter, and it's much more convenient to use. And you can use it for free as well. Let's compare the real promise filter to this free alternative. Here you can see how the real promise filter affects the skin tones and makes the highlights glow. And now here's the free alternative. And when we compare them side by side, you can see that they are maybe not perfect replicas, but pretty damn close. I can't tell one from the other. Both make the skin look better and the whole thing more filmic. It's of course up to you if you like this soft look or not. In the sunset scene, you can see how the promise filter wraps the light nicely around the silhouette, and the free alternative does the same thing. Again, can you tell which is which? In this night scene, the real promise filter gives the glow to the highlights. The emulation does the same, but here we have a bit bigger difference between the versions. Pay attention to the bright lights and how they glow much more with the real filter than the free alternative. And there is a hack I can use to make the free version look slightly better. I'll talk about this hack just a bit later. Let me show you how I created this free alternative. I made a light ramp and studied how the light diffusion happens, comparing the non-filtered shot to the one with the real promised filter. Then I diffused the light in a scene-referred color space. It's a color space that maps exposures physically accurately. I went through this in my video about physical halation. If you want to look into that and understand it a bit better, you can check it out. So how does this work? So first of all, you need to shoot with a camera and a color profile that has decent dynamic range, so that we can accurately map the exposure values into a scene-referred color space, where we can work with the exposure values physically accurately. In the nodes, the first thing is to turn the capture profile to a scene-referred color space. Then we add multiple parallel nodes and blur the super whites to emulate the smooth roll-off of a real filter. This is the secret for physically accurate looking filter emulations. Without these steps, this would not look convincing. And just a tip, don't even try to replicate it from this, because in the end of the video I will give you a link where you can download this for free as a power grade. Here are some examples where I use the free promised filter emulation. Let me show you one example where a real promise filter is still a bit better than this emulation. The reason why the real filter looks more real in this example is that the bright lights have blown out in my footage, as my camera's dynamic range was not able to capture the really bright values in these lamps, for example. But we can create a mask and boost the clipped values. Without the emulation, they don't look different, but the emulation behaves differently with the stronger lights and light values and creates a stronger halo around them. But still, this is a hack, so the end result is still a bit different from the real filter. So if you shoot, for example, a lot of bright lights that blow out in your footage, then a real filter might be a better fit for you. But in most cases, the filter emulations are actually better. Let me list a few reasons. When you use a real filter, the focal length of your lens affects the look. To compensate, you need to have different strength filters to get similar looks between different focal lengths. The emulation, on the other hand, looks the same regardless of the focal length. With real filters, to adjust the strength of the effect, you need multiple filters with different strengths. With the emulation, you just lower the opacity or use a different emulation for different strengths. With a real filter, you cannot separate where in your frame the effect takes place. It's all or nothing. With the emulation, you can mask areas that you don't want to be affected. The last reason is actually the most compelling one. If you want to choose between different filter looks, you need to spend a fortune on these filters, these actual real optical filters. Maybe you like the black mist filter more than the promised filter, or maybe you prefer the glimmer glass filters, or pearlescent filters, or smoke filters, or classic soft filters, or fog filters. So you can imagine, if you want to have the ability to use these different looks, you need to have all of these filters. And because the focal length and the strength, you want to adjust those as well, you need to have at least 2 strengths of each of these filters. And you can imagine, if you have so many filters in your camera bag, they're gonna take a lot of space and they're gonna take a lot of money from you, and it's still quite cumbersome that you need to change them in front of the lens, and when you change focal length you need to change the filter again, and then you're locked with the look. So my controversial opinion is that for most of us, these optical filter emulations are better than real filters. Of course, you might have a different opinion, and please do share it in the comments. I will read it and I will reply to you, of course, depending how polite you are, but in most cases, it's nice to have a conversation about this. So do share your opinion. So would you like to get your hands on this promised filter for yourself as well? Well, here's a link where you can download this emulation for free, and then there's a tutorial on how to use it in DaVinci Resolve as well. And I have actually modeled other filters as well, all of those that I listed before, and you can get them from my website as well. And that will support me creating these videos and these free assets for everybody. So subscribe to the channel and see you in the next video.